I really do believe that there is this old saying, right, that cars move the body, bikes move the soul.
Yep, that's me talking to Henry Cole in 2019. You may be wondering how I, of all people, end up voice Skyping. Yes, I said Skyping, give me a break, it was 2019, with Henry Cole. I had a blast chatting with UK's famous producer, TV presenter, author, CEO and manufacturer of the bespoke Gladstone Motorcycles, and of course, the star of the Motorbike Show, which you should check out, by the way. Stick around, and I'll tell you on this episode of...
Upside Down, Beautiful.
Hi, I'm Upside, and welcome to my channel. The short answer to the question, how did I end up talking with Henry Cole, is quite simple, actually. Many of you may not know, but I'm a career nonfiction writer, and back in 2019, I started a podcast called After the Book Ends. I was delighted and, to be honest, a little bit shocked when I landed Henry Cole as a guest, as he had just written a new book. If you aren't sure who Henry Cole is, let me enlighten you. Henry is a descendant of former British Prime Minister Edward Gladstone. Besides producing documentaries for rock bands such as Guns N' Roses, he produced the movie Mad Dogs and Englishmen, starring Elizabeth Hurley. He has ridden all over the world and has highlighted his trips in the series The World's Greatest Motorcycle Rides. He is especially fond of Route 66 in the USA, and additionally wrote a book about it. In 2013, Henry set a world land speed record for a pre-1955 750cc motorcycle, riding at 99.78 miles per hour on the Bonneville Salt Flats. We ended up chatting about his life, motorcycles, of course, addiction, and some philosophy. It was really fascinating for me. So I encourage you to make a cuppa, grab your favorite pack of bickies, sit back, relax, and have a listen. Cheers, mate. Today, I'm absolutely over the moon to be talking with Henry Cole. He's FaceTiming in all the way from across the pond in the UK, and he's also the author of A Biker's Life, Misadventures on and off two wheels. Welcome, Henry.
Hello. Hi, Heather. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Thanks, Henry. We were chatting a little bit earlier before we started recording, and I was practicing my Oi, governor.
How about cheers, mate? How about that?
I'll try that. Cheers, mate.
Yeah, that's good. That's better. Yeah.
Yeah. So fun.
You don't want to try my Canadian, I have to tell you. Yeah, that would be really embarrassing.
I don't think so. I think you would do an amazing impression. For any listeners out there who may not be familiar with who you are, I'm just going to share a little bit of information about you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Go right ahead.
You are bonkers about motorbikes and upcycling.
Well, I tell you, Heather, I'm so sorry. I've got to stop you there. I'm not really bonkers about upcycling.
No.
I'm bonkers about restoration and restoring.
Oh, okay.
Yeah? I think there's a subtle difference, you know what I mean? But we could come on to that later.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean. I do. The reason I thought you were bonkers about upcycling is because I first heard of you or knew of you from a Netflix show that aired here in Canada called Find It, Fix It, Flog It.
Very big here. Yeah, absolutely.
It most certainly was. Yeah. So I thought this guy likes upcycling.
Yeah, no. You see, I do it with another guy, Simon. Yeah. And we go into a shed and he upcycles whatever he finds. And I obviously try and restore because the whole kind of heritage thing is where I'm at. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And obviously what I'm trying to restore always is something that does have some kind of automotive relevance. Yeah.
Okay.
So we very much joke, Simon and I, that he goes in and upcycles, I don't know, a lamp, a lamp to, I don't know, whatever. But for me, I'll take a petrol can or, a vintage petrol pump or something like that and restore it to its former glory. Upcycling, I question as regards financial benefit. I certainly don't question as regards the planet, if you see what I mean. Yeah. Yep. But yeah, so that's the difference between the both of us, if you see what I mean. But yeah, Find It, Fix It, Flog It's on every day here on Channel 4.
Oh, okay. You also have a show, The World's Greatest Motorcycle Rides.
Oh, yes. Yep.
The Motorbike Show,
yes.
Shed and Buried, which, by the way, is a brilliant name.
Yeah, Shed and Buried. That'll probably be coming to you guys over there, actually. It's a hit show for Quest Discovery over here.
Okay. In your youth, you were a student at Eton, right?
I went to Eton, yeah.
And you've been very open that you were a heroin addict from the ages of 19 to 25, but you've been living in recovery for many, many years now.
Yeah, I think it's, 30, God, it was 19, my last drink or drug was August the 26th, 1988. So what does that make it?
31 years.
31 years, something like that. I've been sober, yeah.
Amazing. Good for you. That's quite a feat.
Well, do you know, I heard that, I don't know whether it was a feat, I think it's necessity, really. Yeah. All I do know is that if I really wanted to drink again, I would, if you see what I mean.
Yes.
But I have no urge to return to, the disease, or the sort of, the disease of addiction, which, I mean, I'm still an addict, but I'm just not taking any drugs or drink because I've kind of mentally moved on from that, you know.
That's amazing. I think, too, people with addictive personalities have a tendency to swap out that destructive addiction for something more constructive.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know whether you could call buying and selling stuff in sheds constructive. But actually, really, I mean, I've swapped it out. I mean, I'm a hoarder and collector of stuff, you know,
Right.
Vehicles, motorcycles, whatever. And also, I'm a workaholic. So I've kind of sort of swapped, you know, for those two addictions, both of which are pretty healthy, really, I think.
Yes,
You know
they
what I mean?
are. People may not be aware of some of the heavy hitters that you have worked with in the rock industry.
Yes.
AC/DC, Aerosmith,
Yes.
Michael Jackson, who else? Guns N' Roses.
Yeah, God, I'm really old, Heather. Yeah, I'm really old. You're making me feel very old.
You're not old. If you're old, I'm old. You can't be old.
Yeah, Guns N' Roses. Yeah, they were one of them as well. You know, I was with them for the Freddie Mercury concert, benefit concert. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Years ago, and then went on tour with them. You know, because what we did is we had a company that I've now sold many years ago, but we had a company supplying camera crews to the rock and roll industry for documentaries. Yeah. To me, the correlation between, you know, motorcycling and rock and roll is you know, very much there. You know, which is kind of that sort of striving for individualism, perhaps, you know, and a rebellious streak in one, you know, whether one's a, you know, guy works for the council or whatever you do, you know, you can rebel emotionally, I think, by either getting involved in motorcycling, rock and roll, or both, you know?
Yeah, I think I get what you're saying. Individually, individuals can express themselves through a variety of rebellious kind of avenues. But let's talk about the motorcycles. Can you tell me a bit about Gladstone Motorbikes and who they're named after?
Well, they're named after, weirdly, I'm kind of the black sheep of the family. Okay, so on my mother's side is the Gladstone line back to the Prime Minister, William Ewart Gladstone. And he's my great, I don't know how many greats, uncle. Yeah. And then my great-great-grandfather was a guy called Uncle Dick Redbeard Gladstone. Okay, it's all very British and very posh, you know. He was the guy who actually inspired me to get into motorcycling when I was about 8. He was this ravingly crazy kind of posh Englishman who lived in Liverpool, outside Liverpool in a sort of big house. And he never spoke to me once, you know, went up there and I just played in the garden. But then he came out one day and he said, "Do you want to have a look at my shed?" And so I went into his shed and there were all these motorbikes there. And basically, cut long story short, I was smitten then, you know, with all these British bikes. And then so Gladstone, you know, it must be about 7 or 8 years ago now, I rang my friend Guy. And we'd grown up together loving motorcycles, and he was a motorcycle builder. And I said, "Why don't we come and build some bikes, and we're going to call them Gladstone Motorcycles." So, we build these beautiful, you know, what's called bobber motorcycles. They're kind of custom, you know, choppers, but without the extended forks, you know?
Yep.
And again, sort of a very British version of what ostensibly probably is an American thing, if you see what I mean.
Yes.
And we've just designed a bike for Norton, actually, just redesigned an old model for them.
Oh, wow.
Gladstone really is kind of a sort of micro design house, really, for customizing or adapting, you know, motorcycles, really, into what we actually love. And those have brought out, we've sold, or we were building just 9 a year, we've sold them all. So we're now looking at what we're going to do next, really.
Yes.
what style of motorcycle we're going to do next. But I think we'll keep with the bobber, you know.
Yes, I've seen pictures. They're amazing.
Oh, thank you, Heather. Yeah, I mean, they are expensive. They're, £40,000 sterling.
Right.
But at the same time, they take 3 months to build, and everything is handmade on them. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, a lot of craftsmanship must go into them. Where can people find them online?
Well, just online, GladstoneMotorcycles.com is a great place to start. We actually have always been meaning to do videos of riding them, and have never, to this date, done it, but we will do for sure,
Right.
But GladstoneMotorcycles.com is a place to have a look. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Excellent. So I read your book in the last 2 days, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you.
I actually purchased it when I was in the UK last April.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Okay, cool. Yeah.
It is available in Canada, but not through our big box bookstore, Indigo. You actually have to order it online through Amazon.
Oh, yeah, Amazon.
It was funny, easy to read, full of hilarious, near-the-mark British expressions.
Yeah, some of them actually cross the mark, I think, basically. Whatever that
But
mark
at the
is.
same time, it still subtly offered a lot of insights into life. It was great. This and one other book that I've read this year called A Medic's Mind by Matthew Hennigan are two of my favorite books that kind of deal with overcoming addiction.
Right.
So you made it to my top 2 list.
Thank you so much, Heather. Hey, God, I take that as a mega privilege. Yeah.
So people listening might be wondering why I would read a book about motorbikes.
Why would you?
Yeah, why would I? So first, let me say that this isn't just only a book about motorbikes.
No.
This is a memoir. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think motorcycling has been a huge part of my life, but actually, just as we touched on a while ago, motorcycling for me was initiated, yes, by my Uncle Dick Redbeard, and my love of old British bikes, but it certainly developed now into that, or did from my late 20s, into that kind of sort of, I really do believe that there is this old saying, right, that cars move the body, bikes move the soul, right?
Yeah.
And, I do believe that when you're riding a motorcycle, whether it's in America, whether it's here, whether it's in Canada, wherever it is, you become an individual when you're riding that motorcycle, right? And everything that is inspired by the motorcycle to be an individual. You're looking after your needs on a motorcycle as well. You're not looking after your wants. You're in a car when you're going through beautiful scenery. I have to say, I do feel like I'm a spectator in a car, through the glass. Yeah.
Right.
But actually, on a motorcycle, you are part of that scenery. Yeah.
Yes.
And that engagement with your environment, spiritually, mentally, and physically, is the reason why I ride a motorcycle, right?
Okay.
So that's why motorcycling is, obviously, people know me here in the UK for being a sort of crazy biker. But those are the reasons why motorcycling is actually featured in this book. Yeah.
Yes.
Because it's where I get my spiritual peace from,
I actually truly do understand that. You're forced to be in the moment when you're on a bike. A lot of people don't know this, but I actually have my motorbike license.
Do you?
Yes, I do. And you really, really have to be present when you're on a bike.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I grew up with 2 older brothers. My oldest brother, who is 14 years older than I am, had an Indian, a Harley, and a 1972 BSA Thunderbolt 650.
I know, I've just sold one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know exactly, yeah. I know. In fact, it was an American import, not a Canadian import, but American import to here. Yeah. Anyway.
My other brother, who is 8 years older than I am, he had a Kawasaki 300 that he used to bomb around with on and off road. And I remember riding on the back of this thing. I couldn't have been more than 4 or 5 years old, just holding on to my brother's waist. Like, as an adult, I wondered, like, where were my parents in all of this? But then when I was in my early 20s, I got a little Yamaha 400. I was a school teacher, and I remember I was teaching special education, riding to school on my bike, and I loved knitting. So I had my most recent knitting project in my backpack because those two things go together.
Do they go together?
Right? Yeah. And I remember thinking to myself, I am the weirdest person I know. I think that takes being an individual to an entirely new level.
Yeah, no, I think that's very true, actually. When you're on a motorcycle, I don't know, perhaps is it weird? I think there is a worldwide community of motorcyclists. And having done sort of world's greatest motorcycle rides, for the last 15, 20 years, I've met motorcyclists all over the world. And actually, I sort of kind of call them kindred spirits, It's funny, you can go to any country in the world, pull up on a motorcycle and actually, meet like-minded people and, share some moments with them, and that's a good place to know. Do you know what I mean? It's a good kind of sort of club to be a member of, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I remember once vacationing in the States and we happened to drive through Black Hills during the Harley convention. It was a bit by mistake, but everybody was so friendly and so kind. So you really have that sense of community for sure.
That's what it's all about. People do think that, we're still going to come round and sort of burn down the village, you know what I mean? And, smash up the bar and take liberties with everyone. That's not the case, It's absolutely not the case,
Right. And I think at this point, I would be remiss if I didn't remind people that they would enjoy this book, regardless whether or not you're into motorbikes.
Well, I hope so.
It's also about being in the moment.
It is, and it's also about disasters as well, like directing movies that go wrong and that kind of stuff.
I'm going to ask you about that later, but in the meantime, would you please read a bit of your book?
Yeah, sure. What bit do you want?
How about the ending, please?
Okay. All right, hang on, I've got it here. Okay, here we go. I know deep down I'm still a junkie, just one who hasn't used for a fair bit, because I still feel on some days that I absolutely do not fit in to this society that I live in. I still sometimes feel I don't know what life is all about, why we're doing any of this. In the blink of an eye, I'll be lying on my deathbed, and so will you, because as previously noted, none of us get out of here alive. And I'll be in my pyjamas, probably, or on a drip or whatever, going in and out of consciousness. Faint smell of pee, hum of machines, and at that moment, would I be thinking about my yacht in the Maldives if I had one? No. I'd be thinking about what everyone thinks about, my needs, my survival, and how I've treated my family. Have I lived my life on my own terms? How I wanted to live it? Have I got the most out of it? Have I taken care of those I love and who have been decent enough to love me? Life is about contentment and peace of mind. It's about being whole as a person and creating my own little world, however small that world may be. A world that is a safe place for me and my family. So, when I'm dying of heart disease or cancer or whatever it is, all that matters is there are a few people there with me who love me. It makes me think of my father. One thing he always said to me was, do what you want, Henry, as long as it doesn't hurt anyone else. Not a bad rule for life, eh?
Wow.
There you go.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I know we touched on it a little bit earlier, but I want to circle back to it. Your movie.
Yep.
You talk a lot in the book about this movie that you produced, and it's called Mad Dogs and Englishmen. Now, I have an expression, and it reminds me of you describing this movie. So sometimes today's poop is just fertilizer for tomorrow's flowers. And I really like how you explain in your book that things may not have gone exactly to plan with this movie or as well as you'd hoped. However, it still was the trajectory to the life that you lead now.
Absolutely. I mean, very directly.
Tell us a little bit about what happened. Who was cast? Who was not cast? How did it all go down?
Yeah, I mean, God. So I was directing TV commercials, big TV commercials, after doing lots of rock and roll stuff. And my business partner at the time said, you should do a movie. And I said, what, me? How should I do a movie? He said, do a movie about what you know, yeah? And write a script, write a screenplay around that. So,
right.
Well, what do I know? I know about being a sort of junkie in Chelsea in the 80s, And he said, well, write about that. So I wrote this screenplay and cut a really long story short, otherwise the podcast will go on probably till next Tuesday. We amassed £1.5 million to make this movie through. It was kind of like crowdfunding, but back in the day. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yep.
Everyone could get a tax. I wouldn't say dodge, but it was an incentive to invest in movies at that time. It was a tax break, you know.
Yes.
So anyway, we got all this money, and we went and made this movie. And I had. Oh God, I'm sure he won't mind me saying it. I wanted to cast. My casting agent rang me and said, "I've got this great Scottish actor. You've got to meet him."
Right.
And so I went, "Yeah, great, okay. Well, who is he?" He said, "Well, he's this guy. He's just been in a movie called Shallow Grave. You need to go and see Shallow Grave in a cutting room because it wasn't out, you know." So I went and watched Shallow Grave, and I said, "You know, who is this guy?" And she said, "Well, I'm sending him round now. He's called Ewan McGregor." Right.
Wow.
So Ewan comes around on his bike and we get on like a house on fire. And then
Of course.
so I said, "Look, do you want to play the lead?" You know, and he goes, "Yeah, I'd love to." And I go, "Cool, man. Well, that'd be great." Anyway, I rang my American distributor and he goes, "Who the hell's Ewan McGregor, man?" "Well, I never heard of him. You haven't seen Thomas Howell." I went, "Who the hell's he?" And they went, "Well, he did the Soul Man, Hitcher, you know, this kind of stuff." So I couldn't get Ewan McGregor, and I had to settle with C. Thomas Howell, you know.
Oh.
And then we could not find a leading lady at all. We had everyone through the door, you know, who was anything in those days, you know.
Yeah.
And then someone suggested Elizabeth Hurley, and I went, "No, not Elizabeth Hurley." And they went, "No, she's good." So anyway, she came in. We got on like a house on fire. And so I said, "Look, do you want to do it?" And she went, "Yeah, great, I'll do it." And then I said, just in a platonic way, I said, "What are you doing tonight?" And she said, "Oh, I'm at the Four Weddings and a Funeral premiere." And I said, "Oh, well, I'll see you there," you know.
Right.
So we turned up here with Hugh Grant, and she was wearing a safety pin dress. And then overnight, she became famous. And my distributor rang me and said, "You're a genius, man. You just cast Elizabeth Hurley just before she's famous, you know." All this kind of stuff. That's a really bad American accent. Can
Oh,
I
I think it's
apologise?
pretty good.
But basically, oh no, it's not. And she,
Cheers, mate.
and then yeah, that's good. I like that. Cheers, mate. That was good. Well, yeah. What happened? Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right, Elizabeth. So, he said, "Look, get rid of all the dark stuff in the movie. Yeah, get rid of all the stuff that
Oh.
really happened to you. Yeah." And he said, "This is a mainstream movie now, Henry, with Elizabeth in it. She's now famous. We're going to do it as a movie of the week type thing, right?" So I said, "Well, I don't really want to do that." And he goes, "Well, bugger you, man. I got cut approval, so you got to do it." So we made a shit movie,
Takes the
basically, at
soul
the
out
end of
of
the
it, doesn't
day.
it?
And he cut out all the dark stuff. And so now, really, which I daren't look at it for the last 15 years, I've never seen it, but it's just a collection of scenes that don't really make much sense. But I'll tell you what, it was an incredible year of my life. It was probably much worse than giving up drugs. You know, it was just
Really?
horrific, you know. We had a lot going on, and it was just, you know, the book does describe it
Yes,
quite
yes,
well,
it
actually, the
does.
nightmares that happened. But at the end of the day, the movie was trashed by the critics. And because it was Elizabeth Hurley's first thing since she wore the dress, everyone wanted to know about it.
Right.
Yeah, but they very much blamed me rather than her, which was great in one way. And the only great thing about it that came out of it were two things. One, Elizabeth's godmother to one of my kids,
Oh.
and we're still great mates today. And two, I went to Channel 5 here, a TV station, with basically, I had 26 staff and really no work after that
Oh,
movie.
okay. Yep.
And I said to my mate Jeff, who was the boss of Channel 5, I said, "Look, I really want to do this show called Stars and Cars." And he went, "Great, yeah, we'll have it, mate. You know, you need to get some work, and I'll give you, 10 1 hours of that." And I said, "Yeah, but..." And then I stupidly went, "Yeah, I'll present it." Because I thought, I'm never going to work with TV presenters again. I hate them. Yeah. And, he said, "Well, no, you're not going to present it, and I can't give it to you because you've never presented before."
Oh.
Anyway, that was all beginning of lunch. At the end of lunch, right, I said
Yep.
to him, "Look, about this series, Stars and Cars, why don't I just make you a Christmas special?" Because it was running up to Christmas.
Right.
Make you a Christmas special for free.
Ah.
And he goes, "Oh, for God's sake, if you really want to do it, then do it, you know." So I went off and I made this 1 hour, for free for Channel 5, and it went out at Christmas. And I said to him, if it rates, give me a series,
Right, right.
If it doesn't rate, buy me lunch here, and I'll pay for this one,
Right.
So off we did, and we made it. And that was a direct result of being completely flummoxed and just flattened by Mad Dogs.
Right, yes.
And anyway, it rated really well. It ran for 5 years, and that started my presenting.
Excellent.
And then, the motorcycling followed on telly, a couple of years after that, because it took that time to convince the broadcasters that motorcycling actually would rate,
Excellent. So good things can come out of bad situations.
Oh, do you know why you say that? And it's so true. All the way through my life, there have been catastrophic things happen to me.
Right.
Read the book, and every single time I think you need some determination for good things to come out of bad. I think you need some hope.
True. Yes.
That's the only thing that I've always held on to is hope. Yeah. And I think you become a very bad place when you lose that hope. And all I know is I couldn't have got through the shit that I've gone through without talking to people and asking for help. Do you know what I mean? There's so many people in this world who are so proud they won't talk.
Yes.
They won't, they feel for some reason they need to have a front that people, see them as. But everyone can see through every front,
Yes.
And I just implore people who are having a rough time to talk about it. That's what saved me.
Absolutely. So I want to end with something about your great ancestor, who was the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom for 12 years.
Yep.
You may already know this, but he was called the People's William,
yes,
or GOM, which stood for Grand Old Man.
Mm-hmm.
However, his political rival said it stood for God's only mistake.
That was Disraeli, probably.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Well, probably that's continued through the lineage.
I was actually going to kind of bring that up. I feel that throughout your book, you take the reader on your personal journey, where maybe at some point in your life, your self-esteem was down, where you felt that possibly you were God's biggest mistake. But you have traveled towards being a grand man.
Well, you are so sweet.
And that is my hope for you, that you continue on this beautiful journey.
Thank you so much. I mean, let's hope so. I'm happy now, Heather, after all that, I've got, what I really wanted, which was a family, you know what I mean? And that's what it's all about. Through all the kind of rebellion and kind of sort of, trials and tribulations, at the end of the day, what really matters is family and a few friends and, some peace and safety.
What a pleasure speaking with you today, Henry. Thank you so much.
Pleasure, Heather. Thank you.
Oh, you're back. I hope you enjoyed the interview with Henry. And I hope you made a cuppa. My beautiful lesson in all of this is in life and on a motorcycle. Sometimes you make what seems like a very wrong turn. You might feel lost, but oftentimes that can be the catalyst for something great. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe below. But most importantly, remember that life is beautiful, even when it's upside down.